The top story. Now, just look at the way the market ended today. A plunge for US markets added to the string of losses. And all of those markets, by the way, all those indices were much higher at the open, and they've all closed off. I mean, the Dow's off the lows of the day, but the Nasdaq, I believe, is at the bottom of the session. The volatility is just frightening. And the now research from JP Morgan helps explain why. It found that market returns in the first year of retirement have a large impact on the value of the portfolio. Here's why. If stocks fall 20% the year you stop working, then you run out significant money significantly faster than if it rises early on, because the compounding event takes place, even if the returns average throughout the year. Ken Fisher is the founder and executive chairman of Fisher Investment. Ken, I suspect that fact that I have just given out, I suspect you've known this for a very long time, that if you lose at the beginning, it actually has a disproportionate amount of effect over the course of a retirement. Is that correct?
Well, yes, that's true, Richard, and thanks for having me. It's always good to hear your voice. But it's also in parallel true that a 20% drop followed by a 20% gain, because of the simple math, leaves you still behind where you started, and that's part of the problem. But on the other side of the coin, in the very longer term, the stock market rises more than it falls, both in time and magnitude. And so if you've got a long time, while you had a bad mistake in the beginning, you still can make it up eventually.
Right. So what do you do at the moment? Now, obviously, unless you absolutely need the money, you don't sell into this market and take a loss or whatever. But what strategy do you think? Not Wall Street investors. I'm talking about me, anybody who's got a 401k. What do you do in this environment?
So as I've said from the end of the year, this is a year, and I've said this in my written columns all over the world, Daily Telegraph in Britain and what have you. This is a year for Europe to lead, not America. And so you use a period like this to transition as best as you can to underweight America, overweight Europe, particularly the continent, more so than Britain, but also Britain, and then parts of the non-US world. Because the fact of the matter is, and people don't get this, we have a multi-hundred-year history of tariffs all around the world, and in diverse economies, broad economies, not narrow, thin little ones. The country that imposes the tariffs always end up doing worse than the countries they impose upon. And this is everything that is happening with these tariffs is worse for America than it is for the non-US world.
If you've already got a portfolio set up that is US biased, do you shift, which of course obviously means actually taking losses or at least giving back gains, or are you really talking about just adding new?
Remember, when you would do this at a point in time like this, you're selling one thing, but you're buying another. And what's really important to you always, whether you're taking a loss or not, is what will do well ahead. What will do well ahead is always the operative. You're always looking forward. You can't think backward. Talk
to me more about that. Talk to me, because that is the psychology that most investors that I've read over the years, we are more upset about gains that we have given back than if the stock falls the moment you buy it. If the stock falls the moment you buy it, you couldn't have helped that. That's just the way it goes. But if you've given back gains or you've lost money that you already had because you didn't sell, that really rankles.
Yeah, so it's been long proven, and first proven in America by behavioralists, Kahneman and Tversky, that people hate losses more than they love gains. The average American hates a loss 2.5 times as much as gains on average. Statman and I used their methodology, again, 20 years ago, to show that British hate losses 4 times as much as gain on average. Continental Europeans, primarily Germans, 6 times as much. People hate losses more than they love gains. And so something like this, where they actually lose money from what they previously had as a gain, makes them feel worse than if they did nothing at all. That's been true for a really long time. But the fact of the matter is, instead of driving your car like you're looking at the rear view mirror, you need to keep driving your car, looking out at what's ahead of you. And that's true for what you do with your retirement money always.
So to somebody who is about to retire, is saying a 20% loss on the portfolio, you're saying you'll be okay.
The reality is stock might go lower from here. Probably will. It's panicky. And when there's a bounce backs are almost always challenged in the process. But if you look a little longer term out, the drop is actually an opportunity.
Ken, I'm so grateful. We'll talk more. You know, I was just always so glad that you make time for us. And I'm grateful. Thank you, sir.
Always my pleasure, Richard. Thank you so much. You're the best.
Thank you.